the highest levels are making a critical push for President Joe Biden to rethink his election bid, with former President Obama expressing concerns to allies and Nancy Pelosi privately telling Biden the party could lose the ability to seize control of the House if he doesn't step away from the 2024 race. The US president is isolating at his Delaware Shore home as Democratic support appears to crumble around him. Bangladeshi students set fire to the country's state broadcaster a day after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina appeared on the network seeking to calm escalating clashes that have killed at least 32 people. Labour's proposed foreign policy and security pact with the EU sounds quite promising. This is what the head of the European Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee has said, adding that the British government should use the next weeks and months to come up with proposals that are as concrete as possible. China's President Xi Jinping has vowed to make high-quality development the guiding force of the world #2 economy, showing few initial signs that the top leadership is preparing to unleash major steps to boost demand or arrest the property slump. Rare photos have captured a previously uncontacted tribe deep in the Peruvian Amazon, emerging from their isolated territory. This sighting comes amid growing concerns about this tribe's well-being. Well, one couldn't script a more extraordinary stretch of events to open the Republican National Convention, where Trump will accept the GOP nomination seemingly at the peak of his powers. Former US President Donald Trump is set to take the stage at the RNC very shortly, where he will deliver a speech as the party's standard bearer just 5 days after surviving an assassination attempt. Trump has said he actually rewrote his speech after surviving the incident at a Pennsylvania campaign rally, and his family and close allies have maintained that the president has been profoundly changed, as Trump and his supporters at the RNC have repeatedly referred to the near miss as an act of God. In fact, there's a new fashion trend among the MAGA crowd at the RNC, one in a line of merch opportunities that have come out of last weekend's assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Introducing ear bandages. At the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee this week, a fashion trend with a difference has emerged. Fake ear bandages, from folded up slips of paper to pieces of tape on their right ears to showcase their solidarity with Donald Trump. For further clarity from Ground Zero, we have with us VOA correspondent Catherine Gibson at the moment. Thanks so much, Catherine, for joining us. Political observers have questioned what a more unifying message from Trump will actually look like and to whom it will apply. Democrats are fully expecting polls after this RNC to show a possible blowout that could bring Democrats in Congress, bring them down in Congress too. What are you picking up on? Trump is expected to address everyone shortly?
That's right. So as you mentioned, Trump is expected to take the stage any moment now with a message of unity. And in going on the convention's floor and speaking to the delegates, the Trump supporters here in Milwaukee, there is an enormous amount of excitement. Instead of the grim and somber atmosphere we expected after the assassination attempt last weekend, instead I'm hearing joy, I'm hearing relief, I'm seeing excitement from his supporters. Many of them wearing now little American flags on their ears to mimic the former president's bandage. They are saying that the stakes of this election are even more important now, that they have more energy because of the attempted assassination, and that they will be excited to go out there for the rest of the election season and tell other voters, independent, undecided ones, that President Trump is the one who will fight for them.
Right, Catherine, though, you know, Trump's agenda, it's traditionally included promises to expel millions of undocumented immigrants, reinstate travel bans on some Muslim-majority countries, also close the Federal Department of Education and cut funding to schools, depending on how they teach about race and gender. Are we realistically likely to see a drastic shift in his outlook now, or should one expect Trumpian business as usual? Have you heard anything from Trump's campaign?
Well, you can look at that from the angle of who he chose as his vice president. J.D. Vance, the junior U.S. senator, is very strongly supportive of Project 2025, which is the overall conservative plan that you were addressing some of those policy initiatives, the efforts to dismantle some government agencies, limits on contraception and IVF, environmental policy limits, a very dramatically different look at the way the U.S. should be run. So with J.D. Vance on the ticket, I think there is very little that is going to change about that plan.
Well, Catherine, do stay on with us as we inform our viewers about the latest update as far as Joe Biden is concerned. The 81-year-old president, now self-isolating with COVID, remains publicly dug in. But privately, he's resigned to mounting pressure, bad polls, and untenable scrutiny, making it impossible to continue his campaign. The Democrats have informed this to Axios. Behind the scenes, the private message distilled to its bluntest form that top leaders of his party, his friends, and key donors believe he cannot win, he can't change public perceptions of his age, and cannot deliver congressional majorities. In fact, multiple reports indicate Joe Biden is being told that if he stays in, former President Trump could win in a landslide and wipe away Biden's legacy and Democrats' hopes in November. The US president is isolating as we speak at his Delaware Shore home as Democratic support appears to crumble around him. Let's go across to Catherine, who joins us live at the moment. Catherine, in fact, an Axios report suggests that Joe Biden could drop out of the 2024 presidential race as early as this weekend. What are you picking up on? A Democratic official has previously said that Biden will not be dragged off the stage. The goal is to let him walk off the stage?
That's right. It's important to remember that Joe Biden has been running for president for decades now. He finally won in 2020. He beat Donald Trump in what he felt was a win for democracy. And he feels very strongly about the accomplishments of his administration. It's going to take some time and pressure from congressional leadership for him to make this tough decision, which by all reports he has not yet made, although there are increasing sense and sources that he will make that decision to step aside. I think what's really key here is that you've been seeing over the past few days reports from the camps of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, the two top Hill Democrats who have a lot of influence and who are hearing from their own rank and file members who have very tough congressional races and are worried that if President Biden is still on that ticket in November, it is going to drag them down and it is going to cause them to lose their own races. And the stakes of losing not only the White House, but also the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives is something that congressional Democratic leadership just cannot stomach. So they are putting increasing pressure on Biden as he isolates while recovering from COVID.
Catherine, thank you so much for joining us with the latest from Ground Zero. Always a pleasure to hear your perspective. As Catherine is reiterating as well, behind the scenes, the private message has been distilled to its bluntest form that the top leaders of Biden's party, his friends and key donors believe he cannot win and he cannot change public perceptions of his age at the moment and cannot deliver congressional majorities. In other crucial news, the focus is on what triggered the protests in Bangladesh at the moment. Well, they were triggered when the High Court reinstated a quota system for government jobs. This decision overturned a 2018 move by Hasina's government to abolish the system, which reserved 30% of jobs for families of freedom fighters from the 1971 Independence War. The Supreme Court had suspended the High Court order and scheduled a hearing for the 7th of August. But protesters, meanwhile, have set fire to the state TV headquarters. The anti-quota protests have escalated and over 30 people have now died in Bangladesh. Switching tracks, US President Joe Biden delivered the perfect gift for Keir Starmer when the new British Prime Minister arrived at the White House a few days ago. It wasn't the pair of aviators given to Starmer as an official gift through the usual diplomatic channels. Starmer's real prize was actually the endorsement he received from his most powerful ally for his plan to move Britain closer to the EU post-Brexit. Downing Street, it seems, has been quick to seize the moment. Starmer's push to fundamentally shift the UK to a more Eurocentric position, including greater cooperation on defence and a renegotiation of Boris Johnson's Brexit trade deal, was always part of Labour's policy platform. But the swift pace at which the new Prime Minister is moving towards this goal, many political watchers argue, has come as quite a surprise.
Years after the dawn of Brexit, UK's newly elected Labour Prime Minister Keir Starmer is working to amend fractured ties with Europe as he hosts more than 45 European leaders at Blenheim Palace for a summit to discuss migration, energy security and the threat from Russia.
His message is very much that Britain is back, that after years of wrangling and acrimony in the wake of Brexit, the UK wants once again to be a friend and partner to Europe, although he is clear that it doesn't wish to rejoin the EU.
Among the leaders at the European Political Community Summit were French President Emmanuel Macron, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. The meeting marked a clean slate between Starmer and European leaders as a Labour Prime Minister distanced himself from the Tory rhetoric. In a statement following the summit, Starmer announced that the UK wants to extend a helping hand by re-establishing its role as a key ally to tackle issues collaboratively.
In a dangerous world, we serve no one and solve nothing by turning inward, and to leave the EPC in a stronger position as well.
The meeting also took place against the backdrop of the US presidential elections, which has caused a great deal of concern among European nations on what former US President Donald Trump's re-election could entail for European security. Trump's choice of Senator J.D. Vance as his running mate, who is an opponent of US military aid to Ukraine, has further heightened these concerns. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's efforts mark a significant step in mending the UK's relationship with Europe. Labour's foreign policy approach towards Europe indicates a changing relationship, one that once again places the EU as a close ally. Samia Afsar for NDTV.
In other news, China's President Xi Jinping vowed to make high-quality development the guiding force of the world's #2 economy, showing few initial signs that the top leadership is preparing to unleash major steps to boost demand or arrest the property slump. The ruling Communist Party signaled China will stay on course with Xi Jinping's plan to use advanced manufacturing to generate growth in a vaguely worded statement marking the close of a twice-decade conclave that's often heralded major policy shifts. The focus on the factory engine could increase trade tensions, with a surge in Chinese exports already prompting fresh tariffs from the US as well as the European Union.
区域重大战略 主体功能期战略、新型城镇化战略、优化重大生产力布局、构建优势互补、高质量发展的区域经济布局和国土空间体系。
And Qin Gang, China's former foreign minister who disappeared from public view more than about a year ago, has actually lost his seat as a member of the elite Central Committee of the ruling Communist Party. The party's elite Central Committee accepted Qin's resignation from the body, according to a communique that was released by the official Xinhua news agency at the end of this twice-a-decade conclave in Beijing. No reason was given in the statement, but former Defense Minister Li Shangfu, who is facing corruption charges, and 2 other senior commanders have also been expelled from the party. There continues to be much speculation about the fate of Qin Gang, China's shortest-serving foreign minister, whose disappearance the foreign ministry attributed to health reasons. In other crucial news, in a landmark ruling for gay rights in South Korea, the country's Supreme Court has ruled that same-sex couples qualify for the National Health Insurance dependent coverage, a decision that rights activists hoped could pave the way for legalizing same-sex marriage in the country. The decision would allow same-sex couples in the country to register their partners as dependents in national health insurance coverage, as married couples or couples in a common law marriage can. Numerous other benefits are denied to same-sex and other couples living outside the traditional norms of family in South Korea, by the way. But in its ruling on Thursday, the country's highest court ruled that denying a same-sex couple national health insurance dependent coverage just because they are of the same sex constitutes a serious discrimination that infringed upon citizens' dignity and values, their rights to pursue happiness, their freedom of privacy, and their rights to be equally treated by the law. Well, as I mentioned earlier, one couldn't script a more extraordinary stretch of events to open the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, but Donald Trump will accept the GOP nomination seemingly at the peak of his powers. Former US President Donald Trump is set to take the stage at the RNC anytime now, where he will deliver a speech as the party's standard bearer just 5 days after surviving an assassination attempt. Trump has said he rewrote his speech after surviving the incident at a Pennsylvania campaign. His family and close allies have maintained the president has been profoundly changed, as Trump and his supporters at the RNC have repeatedly referred to the near miss as an act of God. Let's just dip into the Republican National Convention, as Trump is expected to headline the final day.
Possibilities. And so committed to fighting to once again make our country great, that there is nothing that is going to stop him.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kid Rock.
What up, America? If you're ready for President Trump to take the stage, I need everybody to stand up. I need everybody to put a fist up in the air. Everybody, get a fist up in the air. Now follow me. Say fight, fight. Say fight.
We'll keep tracking the latest at the RNC, as Trump is expected to address everyone shortly. For now, we're slipping into a very short break. Don't go anywhere.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. Janata ko decide karna hai.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you. NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility, according to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024. NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30.
Welcome back. The Republican National Convention has rolled into its final day in Milwaukee, culminating in former President Trump's speech that is going to accept his GOP nomination formally as the 2024 presidential nominee. Eric Trump just addressed the large crowd a few moments ago. Listen in to what Eric had to say.
Good evening, America. Eight years ago, my father sat our family down. He spoke of a nation in decline, of dreams slipping away, of a future endangered by failed leadership and broken promises. It was in that moment I knew my father had made a decision that would forever change our lives. We realized he had chosen to step into the arena, to fight for the soul of America. He had decided to leave behind the comforts of an unbelievable business empire, to leave behind everything he had ever built, to answer the call to serve our nation. Unlike his predecessor, it was not a decision born out of necessity. Unlike the current president, it was not a decision that would enrich his family. Rather, it was a decision made out of love for this country and a deep concern for America's future. My father was clear it would not be easy, that there would be a huge price to pay, and that the attacks would be vicious. Looking back, that was an understatement. The made-up Russia hoax, the sham impeachments, the efforts to destroy an unbelievable company, a company that I run today, the efforts to cancel us, to silence him, to gag his free speech, and to drag him through every radical left courthouse in America.
Well, switching tracks, in an exclusive interview to NDTV, Tibet's Prime Minister in exile, Sikyong Penpa Sering, speaks to us about how Tibetan soldiers have fought in wars for India and how this is a debt that Tibetans owe India for its hospitality for decades. He also speaks about China's hegemonic intentions. He said China's argument that no country recognizes Tibet as an independent nation is deeply flawed. Listen in.
You had a very important visit, a US congressman recently who'd come up to Dharamshala to understand where the movement presently is, and it's also part of an effort in the United States to push through the Tibet-China Dispute Act. Tell us why this is important for your cause.
Now, we follow what is called as the middle way policy, which is a Buddhist concept, avoiding extreme polarities. So this is a concept which His Holiness proposed, supported by a larger number of Tibetans and unanimously approved by the Tibetan Parliament in exiles, and this continues to be our official position. So me being the Sikyong, or the directly elected political leader, does not mandate me to change that policy, or the Parliament by itself cannot. So if and when we change this policy, there has to be a referendum according to our charter, under Article 56 of our charter. So that being the case, we are committed to following His Holiness thinking on resolving the Sino-Tibet dispute through non-violence, through a negotiated solution, that is mutually beneficial both for the Chinese people and the Tibetan people, and that would be long-lasting. So that is the policy we continue to follow, but we decided to change our strategy a little bit since I came into this position. When we say middle way, then you talk about extremes or polarities. And if there is no recognition for polarities, then there is no value for middle way.
Yeah.
So one polarity is the situation of occupied Tibet under the repressive communist government, which we keep talking about to the governments and public and representatives. But the other polarity, which is the historical status of Tibet as an independent state, was not pushed to the limit that we would have wanted. So there are 4 reasons why we went for this. One is to send a clear message to the Chinese government that they cannot change history, because history is in the past.
Yeah.
What matters more through the middle way policy is to bring more happiness for the Chinese people and the Tibetan people, and that's what His Holiness aspires for.
What about India and the fact that, we back your cause 110%? What is the state of that relationship? And it's not just a relationship of brothers and sisters, or it's also an economic relationship at one level. It is also about sustaining Tibetan communities within India at so many levels. You were talking to me about Tibetan schools. So when you look at the relationship, the official relationship with the government of India, is it a glass half empty or a glass half full?
I would say glass half empty, but it's still, I'm sure there's still a lot of things in the works which we may not be aware of, because it's not necessary that the Indian government has to tell us everything. But we are being very transparent with the Indian government on many matters. And the support that we have received is tremendous, particularly on humanitarian ground. But on political issues, there are a lot of things between China and India right now. So it's up to the leadership of India as to when, how they need to take this up. I'm nobody to advise the Indian government. I know there are a lot of sharp people at the helm of affairs. As I tell everybody, particularly our own people, that we have to understand that if there has to be a resolution to the Sino-Tibet dispute through the middle way policy, there is no other way than by reaching out to the Chinese government. Now, on the other hand, till such a time, then we have to reach out to the international community. Now, when we reach out to the international community, we can't expect that country to leave aside their national interests and then take up Tibet's national interest. It's the same case with India as well. But the difference between India and US or Europe-US is also because of India's proximity of border with Tibet. Now that has become in China. So there are a lot of, I think, political expediencies that need to be taken into consideration when it comes to India's relation with China. But at the same time, we find that, at the beginning of Prime Minister Modi's tenure, he made every effort to get better relations with China by inviting Xi Jinping to Gujarat, to Mahabalipuram, and he himself visiting Beijing and Wuhan and all that brotherhood, Brahaha, Panchil. Even now Panchil is being talked about, despite all the historical. So despite all the efforts from Indian government side, the response from the Chinese government has not been up to the mark. No. So there's serious questions like, when it comes to US-China relations, they say, oh, we are not being treated equal. But the question is, do China treat India equal?
MSMEs are the backbone for the country's economy. They account for 45% of exports.
Frequent changes in GST tariffs and norms has proven to become a very tough issue for the small micro units.
The budget should be in a growth-oriented budget. So we should bring more manufacturers into the fold of GST.
Particularly for micro and small-scale industries, kindly give us a export benefit incentive to us.
But for a micro or small-scale industry to go up, there should be a hand-holding mechanism which is definitely required.
This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello, Moto.
Hello, good morning. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Divya Wadhwa. We have a whole lot lined up for you over the next 1 hour, including an update of that train tragedy that's taken place in Uttar Pradesh. That and a whole lot more on the other side. But first, the headlines. 3 people have died and over 20 others have been injured after several coaches of the Chandigarh-Dibrugarh Express train derailed in Uttar Pradesh's Gonda. The track restoration work is on. Politics heats up in poll-bound states. We're talking about Maharashtra, where the Congress is focusing on the MLC election cross-voting, and Chief Minister Eknath Shinde meets with the MLAs, and the election in charges now have been appointed. While in Haryana, the Congress campaign picks up as far as the key state is concerned, but also it's the Aam Aadmi Party that's decided to go solo on all 90 seats. Tamil Nadu's ruling DMK is thinking of elevating Udayanidhi Stalin, the son of the Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, as the Deputy Chief Minister. As per sources, the elevation would be a key step in strengthening the second-rung leadership in the party. And just ahead of Modi 3.0's first budget that's going to come out next week, NDTV speaks to farmers in Madhya Pradesh in order to understand what their demands and expectations are from this budget. And protesters want government hiring policy reforms. And we're talking about Bangladeshi students who set fire to the country's state broadcaster a day after the Prime Minister appeared on the network seeking to calm the escalating clashes. Now 32 people have died in those protests. It is the day when Donald Trump is going to be speaking at the Republican National Convention. This is just 5 days after he was hurt in that assassination bid. Let's just listen in.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Wow. And thank you, Dana. Thank you, Kid Rock, sometimes referred to as Bob. And thank you, Lee, right from the beginning. Thank you very much. What a talent. What a beautiful, beautiful soul. Thank you. Friends, delegates, and fellow citizens, I stand before you this evening with a message of confidence, strength, and hope. 4 months from now, we will have an incredible victory, and we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. Together, we will launch a new era of safety, prosperity, and freedom for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. The discord and division in our society must be healed. We must heal it quickly. As Americans, we are bound together by a single fate and a shared destiny. We rise together or we fall apart. I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America. So tonight, with faith and devotion, I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we will do it right. We're going to do it right. Let me begin this evening by expressing my gratitude to the American people for your outpouring of love and support following the assassination attempt at my rally on Saturday. As you already know, the assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. So many people have asked me, what happened? Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened, and you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell. It was a warm, beautiful day in the early evening in Butler Township in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Music was loudly playing, and the campaign was doing really well. I went to the stage, and the crowd was cheering wildly. Everybody was happy. I began speaking very strongly, powerfully, and happily because I was discussing the great job my administration did on immigration at the southern border. We were very proud of it. Behind me and to the right was a large screen that was displaying a chart of border crossings under my leadership. The numbers were absolutely amazing. In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear. I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet. And moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood, just absolutely blood all over the place. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack, and in one movement proceeded to drop to the ground. Bullets were continuing to fly as very brave Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, and they really did. They rushed to the stage. These are great people at great risk, I will tell you, and pounced on top of me so that I would be protected. There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that. The amazing thing is that prior to the shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together. The most incredible aspect of what took place on that terrible evening in the fading sun was actually seen later. In almost all cases, as you probably know, and when even a single bullet is fired, just a single bullet, and we had many bullets that were being fired, crowds run for the exits or stampede, but not in this case. It's very unusual. This massive crowd of tens of thousands of people stood by and didn't move an inch. In fact, many of them bravely but automatically stood up looking for where the sniper would be. They knew immediately it was a sniper. and then began pointing at him. You can see that if you look at the group behind me. That was just a small group compared to what was in front. Nobody ran, and by not stampeding, many lives were saved. But that isn't the reason that they didn't move. The reason is that they knew I was in very serious trouble. They saw it. They saw me go down. They saw the blood and thought, actually most did, that I was dead. They knew it was a shot to the head. They saw the blood. And there's an interesting statistic. The ears are the bloodiest part. If something happens with the ears, they bleed more than any other part of the body. For whatever reason, the doctors told me that. I said, why is there so much blood? He said, it's the ears. They bleed more. So we learned something, but they just, this beautiful crowd, they didn't want to leave me. They knew I was in trouble. They didn't want to leave me. And you can see that love written all over their faces. Incredible people. They're incredible people. Bullets were flying over us, yet I felt serene. But now the Secret Service agents were putting themselves in peril. They were in very dangerous territory. Bullets were flying right over them, missing them by a very small amount of inches. And then it all stopped. Our Secret Service sniper, from a much greater distance and with only one bullet used, took the assassin's life, took him out. I'm not supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be here. No. Thank you. But I'm not. And I'll tell you, I stand before you in this arena only by the grace of Almighty God. In watching the reports over the last few days, many people say it was a providential moment. Probably was. When I rose, surrounded by Secret Service, the crowd was confused because they thought I was dead, and there was great, great sorrow. I could see that on their faces as I looked out. They didn't know I was looking out. They thought it was over. But I could see it, and I wanted to do something to let them know I was okay. I raised my right arm, looked at the thousands and thousands of people that were breathlessly waiting, and started shouting, "Fight, fight, fight." Thank you. Once my clenched fist went up, and it was high into the air. You've all seen that. The crowd realized I was okay and roared with pride for our country like no crowd I have ever heard before. Never heard anything like it. For the rest of my life, I will be grateful for the love shown by that giant audience of patriots that stood bravely on that fateful evening in Pennsylvania. Tragically, the shooter claimed the life of one of our fellow Americans, Corey Comparator. Unbelievable person, everybody tells me. Unbelievable. And seriously wounded, two other great warriors. Spoke to them today. David Dutch and James Copenhaver. Two great people. I also spoke to all three families of these tremendous people. Our love and prayers are with them and always will be. We're never going to forget them. They came for a great rally. They were serious Trumpsters, I want to tell you. They were serious Trumpsters and still are. But Corey, unfortunately, we have to use the past tense. He was incredible. He was a highly respected former fire chief, respected by everybody. Was accompanied by his wife, Helen, incredible woman. I spoke to her today, devastated, and two precious daughters. He lost his life selflessly acting as a human shield to protect them from flying bullets. He went right over the top of them and was hit. What a fine man he was. I want to thank the fire department and the family for sending his helmet, his outfit, and it was just something, and they're going to do something very special when they get it. But we did something which cannot match what happened, not even close. But I am very proud to say that over the past few days, we've raised $6.3 million for the families of David, James, and Corey, including from a friend of mine just called up. He sent me a check right here. I just got it. $1 million from Dan Newland. Thank you, Dan. And again, when speaking to the family, I told them, I said, well, I'm going to be sending you a lot of money, but it can't compensate. They all said the same thing. You're right, sir. We appreciate so much what you're doing, but nothing can take the place in the case of Corey. And the other two, by the way, they were very, very seriously injured, but now they're doing very well. They're going to be okay. They're going to be doing very well. They're warriors. So now I ask that we observe a moment of silence in honor of our friend Corey. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for others. This is the spirit that forged America in her darkest hours, and this is the love that will lead America back to the summit of human achievement and greatness. This is what we need. Despite such a heinous attack, we unite this evening more determined than ever. I am more determined than ever, and so are you. So is everybody in this room. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our resolve is unbroken and our purpose is unchanged to deliver a government that serves the American people better than ever before. Nothing will stop me in this mission because our vision is righteous and our cause is pure. No matter what obstacle comes our way, we will not break, we will not bend, we will not back down, and I will never stop fighting for you, your family, and our magnificent country. Never. And everything I have to give with all of the energy and fight in my heart and soul, I pledge to our nation tonight. Thank you very much. I pledge that to our nation. We're going to turn our nation around, and we're going to do it very quickly. Thank you. This election should be about the issues facing our country and how to make America successful, safe, free, and great again. In an age when our politics too often divide us, now is the time to remember that we are all fellow citizens. We are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we must not criminalize dissent or demonize political disagreement, which is what's been happening in our country lately at a level that nobody has ever seen before. In that spirit, the Democrat Party should immediately stop weaponizing the justice system and labeling their political opponent as an enemy of democracy. Especially since that is not true. In fact, I am the one saving democracy for the people of our country. And very big news, as you probably just read, on Monday a major ruling was handed down from a highly respected federal judge in Florida, Eileen Cannon, finding that the prosecutor and the fake documents case against me were totally unconstitutional, and the entire case was thrown out of court. With all of that publicity, thrown out of court. If Democrats want to unify our country, they should drop these partisan witch hunts, which I have been going through for approximately 8 years. And they should do that without delay and allow an election to proceed that is worthy of our people. We're going to win it anyway, but worthy. On this journey, I am deeply honored to be joined by my amazing wife, Melania. And Melania, thank you very much. You also did something really beautiful, a letter to America calling for national unity, and it really took the Republican Party by surprise. I will tell you, it was beautiful. In fact, some very serious people said that we should take that letter and put it as part of the Republican platform. That would be an honor, wouldn't it? Right, Mr. Congressman? But it captivated so many, so I also want to thank my entire family for being here, Don, Kimberly, Ivanka and Jared, Eric and Lara, Tiffany and Michael, Barron. We love our Barron. And of course, my 10 wonderful grandchildren. You saw a few of them up there on my lap before. And how good was Dana? Was Dana good? I mean, was he good? He was on probably the only vacation he's had in about, maybe ever, because he works, but about 10 years with his wife, very far away. I won't tell you where, but very, very far away, beautiful place. And my people called, and he said, I won't be able to do it. This is many, many years. I promised my wife I can't do it. And they came in, they said, Dana won't be able to do it, because he was my first, second, and third choice. I said, well, you know, that's too bad, but I understand he's away, and it's good. It's good for him. And that was it. About 30 minutes later, she came back in, sir, Dana just called. He's going to do it. And his wife, she said, you can't turn him down. You just can't do it. You have to go. That's a good wife. So he got on a plane. He got here a little while ago. Now he's going to get on the plane in a little while, and he's going to go back home to his wife. But they're great, and I just want to thank her and him and their whole family, because that's not easy. And Kid Rock, same thing. Called, he said, I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part, because, you know, Kid does his great song, Big, Big Monster song. I had no idea. You know, he became a friend of mine over the last 10 years. And he's amazing. Everyone loves him. I didn't even know how big he was. You know, he has rallies, 35, 40,000 people he gets every time he goes out. I think he's making so much money, he doesn't know what the hell to do with it. You want to know? And then we have my other friend, and I've known him so long, and we took that song, and it was a big success, but we made that. I saw a chart of great songs to America. That was #1 on the chart recently, #1. So that's Lee Greenwood, very special, beautiful person. He's a beautiful man. But they all wanted to be here, they called. And how about the Hulkster? How good was he? Is he up? Where is he? Boy, oh boy. You know, they may call that entertainment. I know about entertainment, but when he used to lift a 350-pound man over his shoulders and then bench press him 2 rows into the audience, I say, maybe entertainment, but he is one strong son of a gun. I will tell you, I watched it many times. There aren't a lot of entertainers that can do that, right? You were fantastic. Thank you very much. Followed by Eric. What was that all about? Boy, that was good. I didn't want to really come up here. But he was so great, and he's such a good young man. He went through a lot of trouble, and Don last night was incredible. They went through so much trouble. They got subpoenaed more than any people probably in the history of the United States. Every week they get another subpoena from the Democrats, crazy Nancy Pelosi, the whole thing, just boom, boom, boom. They've got to stop that because they're destroying our country. We have to work on making America great again, not on beating people. And we won. We beat them in all. We beat them on the impeachments. We beat them on indictments. We beat them. But the time that you have to spend, if they would devote that genius to helping our country, we'd have a much stronger and better country. And Jason, the biggest star in country music. Jason, thank you for being here. Jason, thank you very much. Jason Aldean, he's good. I like his wife even better, by the way. She's here. Thank you, Jason. But I'm thrilled to have a new friend and partner fighting by my side. The next Vice President of the United States, the current Senator from Ohio, J.D. Vance, and his incredible wife, Usha. He's going to be a great Vice President. He's going to be great. He'll be with this country and with this movement, greatest movement in the history of our country, Make America Great Again. When they criticize it, they say, we're going to try and stop MAGA. I said, MAGA is Make America Great Again. What are you going to stop? There's nothing to stop. Then they say, oh, that's right. It's very tough to fight it. And all of the people that did try and fight it have failed. but he's going to be with us for a long time, and it was an honor to select him. Great student at Yale. His wife was a great student at Yale. They met at Yale. These are two smart people. So, J.D., you're going to be doing this for a long time. Enjoy the ride. And a very special thank you to the extraordinary people of Milwaukee and the great state of... Oh, there they are. There they are. That's... You are so easy to spot. And Green Bay's going to have a good team this year, right? They're going to have a good team. They're going to have a good team. Most of the audience doesn't like it, but it's true. You're going to have a very good team this year. And by the way, Wisconsin, we are spending over $250 million here creating jobs and other economic development all over the place. So I hope you will remember this in November and give us your vote. I am trying to buy your vote. I'll be honest about that. And I promise we will make Wisconsin great again. We're going to make it. Thank you, Mr. Governor. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm here tonight to lay out a vision for the whole nation. To every citizen, whether you're a young or old man or woman, Democrat, Republican, or independent, black or white, Asian or Hispanic, I extend to you a hand of loyalty and of friendship. Together we will lead America to new heights of greatness like the world has never seen before. We were right there in the first term. We got hit with COVID. We did a great job. Nobody knew what it was, but nobody's ever seen an economy pre-COVID. And then we handed over a stock market that was substantially higher than just prior to COVID. Coming in, did a great job. Never got credit for that. We got credit for the war and defeating ISIS and so many things, the great economy, the biggest tax cuts ever, the biggest regulation cuts ever, the creation of Space Force, the rebuilding of our military. We did so much. We did so much. Right to try. Right to try is a big deal. We got right to try. They were trying to get that for 52 years. Somebody's terminally ill. And hopefully there's nobody in this audience, but it does happen a lot. They're terminally ill and they can't use our new space-age drugs and other things that we are way ahead. We have the greatest doctors in the world, the greatest laboratories in the world, and you can't do it. They've been trying to get that approved for 52 years. Wasn't that easy? The insurance companies didn't want to do it. They didn't want the risk. The labs didn't want to do it because if it didn't work, people are pretty far down the line toward death. They didn't want to do it. The doctors didn't want to have it on their records, so I got everybody into an office. 52 years they tried. Sounds simple, but it's not. And I got them to agree that somebody that needs it will, instead of going to Asia, Europe, or someplace, or if you have no money going home and dying, just die. We got them to sign an agreement, agree to it, where they're not going to sue anybody. They're going to get all of this stuff. They're going to get it really fast. And what's happened is we're saving thousands and thousands of lives. It's incredible. Right to try. It's a great feeling. Under our leadership, the United States will be respected again. No nation will question our power. No enemy will doubt our might. Our borders will be totally secure. Our economy will soar. We will return law and order to our streets, patriotism to our schools, and importantly, we will restore peace, stability, and harmony all throughout the world. But to achieve this future, we must first rescue our nation from failed and even incompetent leadership. We have totally incompetent leadership. This will be the most important election in the history of our country. Under the current administration, we are indeed a nation in decline. We have an inflation crisis that is making life unaffordable, ravaging the incomes of working and low-income families, and crushing, just simply crushing our people like never before. They've never seen anything like it. We also have an illegal immigration crisis, and it's taking place right now as we sit here in this beautiful arena. It's a massive invasion at our southern border that has spread misery, crime, poverty, disease, and destruction to communities all across our land. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Then there's an international crisis, the likes of which the world has seldom been part of. Nobody can believe what's happening. War is now raging in Europe and the Middle East. A growing specter of conflict hangs over Taiwan, Korea, the Philippines, and all of Asia. And our planet is teetering on the edge of World War III. And this will be a war like no other war because of weaponry. The weapons are no longer army tanks going back and forth shooting at each other. These weapons are obliteration. It's time for a change. This administration can't come close to solving the problems. We're dealing with very tough, very fierce people. They're fierce people. And we don't have fierce people. We have people that are a lot less than fierce, except when it comes to cheating on elections and a couple of other things. Then they're fierce. Then they're fierce. So tonight, I make this pledge to the great people of America. I will end the devastating inflation crisis immediately, bring down interest rates, and lower the cost of energy. We will drill, baby, drill. Can you believe what they're doing? But by doing that, we will lead a large-scale decline in prices. Prices will start to come down. Energy raised it. They took our energy policies and destroyed them. Then they immediately went back to them, but by that time, so much was lost. But we will do it at levels that nobody's ever seen before, and we'll end lots of different things. We'll start paying off debt and start lowering taxes even further. We gave you the largest tax cut. We'll do it more. You know, people don't realize I brought taxes way down, way down, and yet we took in more revenues the following year than we did when the tax rate was much higher. Most people said, how did you do that? Because it was incentive. Everybody was coming to the country. They were bringing back billions and billions of dollars into our country. The companies made it impossible to bring it back. The tax rate was too high, and the legal complications were far too great. I changed both of them, and hundreds of billions of dollars by Apple and so many other companies were brought back into our nation, and we had an economy the likes of which no nation had ever seen. China, we were beating them at levels that were incredible. And they know it. They know it. We'll do it again, but we'll do it even better. I will end the illegal immigration crisis by closing our border and finishing the wall, most of which I've already built. On the wall, we were dealing with a very difficult Congress. And I said, oh, that's okay. We won't go to Congress. I call it an invasion. We gave our military almost $800 billion. I said, I'm going to take a little of that money because this is an invasion. And we built, most of the wall is already built. And we built it through using the funds because what's better than that? We have to stop the invasion into our country that's killing hundreds of thousands of people a year. We're not going to let that happen. I will end every single international crisis that the current administration has created, including the horrible war with Russia and Ukraine, which would have never happened if I was president, and the war caused by the attack on Israel, which would have never happened if I was president. Iran was broke. Iran had no money. Now Iran has $250 billion. They made it all over the last 2.5 years. They were broke. I watched the other day on a show called Deface the Nation. Has anyone seen it? And they had a congressman who was a Democrat say, well, whether you like him or not, Iran was broke dealing with Trump. I told China and other countries, if you buy from Iran, we will not let you do any business in this country, and we will put tariffs on every product you do send in of 100% or more. And they said to me, well, I think that's about it. They weren't going to buy any oil. And they were ready to make a deal. Iran was going to make a deal with us. And then we had that horrible, horrible result that we'll never let happen again. The election result, we're never going to let that happen again. They used COVID to cheat. We're never going to let it happen again. And they took off all the sanctions, and they did everything possible for Iran. And now Iran is very close to having a nuclear weapon, which would have never happened. This is a shame what this administration, the damage that this administration has done. And I say it often, if you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States, think of it, the 10 worst, added them up, they will not have done the damage that Biden has done. Only going to use the term once. Biden. I'm not going to use the name anymore, just one time. The damage that he's done to this country is unthinkable. It's unthinkable. Together we will restore vision, strength, competence, and we're going to have a thing called common sense making most of our decisions, actually. It's all common sense. Just a few short years ago, under my presidency, we had the most secure border and best economy in the history of our country, in the history of the world. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had never done anything like it. We were beating every country, including China, by leaps and bounds. Nobody had seen anything like it. We had no inflation. Soaring incomes were going. Nobody can believe it. You can't believe what happened 4 years ago is happening now. Reverse. And the world was at peace. Inflation has been a killer for our country. No matter what you make it doesn't matter, because inflation is eating you alive. People that were putting away money, they were making great wages, the highest they've ever made, but they were putting away a lot of money. Now they are just being destroyed. They're not putting away anything. They're barely living. They're going into savings accounts. They're taking out their money to live because of inflation. Inflation, remember, it's called a country buster. You can go back to Germany from 100 years ago. You can go back to any country that suffered great inflation. We've suffered the worst inflation we've ever had. But go back and see what's happened to those countries. We've had the worst inflation we've ever had under this person. But in less than 4 years, our opponents have turned incredible success into unparalleled tragedy and failure. It's been a tremendous failure. Today, our cities are flooded with illegal aliens. Americans are being squeezed out of the labor force, and their jobs are taken. And by the way, you know who's taking the jobs that are created? 107% of those jobs are taken by illegal aliens. And you know who's being hurt the most by millions of people pouring into our country? The black population and the Hispanic population, because they're taking the jobs from our black population, our Hispanic population, and they're also taking them from unions. The unions are suffering because of it. Thank you. Thank you. I like you too. Thank you very much. Inflation has wiped out the life savings of our citizens and forced the middle class into a state of depression and despair. That's what it is. It's despair and depression. We cannot and will not let this continue. Less than 4 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. We're going to be a great nation again. Thank you. With proper leadership, every disaster we are now enduring will be fixed, and it will be fixed very, very quickly. So tonight, whether you've supported me in the past or not, I hope you will support me in the future, because I will bring back the American dream. That's what we're going to do. You don't even hear about the American dream anymore. With great humility I am asking you to be excited about the future of our country. Be excited. Be excited. And by the way, the news reports, look at all of those big networks. Look at them. They're all here. But every one of them has said this could be the most organized, best run, and most enthusiastic convention of either party that they've ever seen. Every single one. And it's true. It's true. And there's love in the room. There's great love in the room. So I better finish strong. Otherwise, we'll blow it. And we can't let that happen. Now, this was great. All of the great people that spoke, and everybody hit a home run. I mean, there's not one that I can think of where I said, oh, gee, that wasn't great. Every single person. I refuse to be the only one. Don't do that to me. They're already getting ready. See, I gave them an idea. Now, this was a great convention. This was, I think we're actually going to go home and miss it. You know, usually with a first of all, look at these crowds. You'd never have this at a convention. Look at these crowds. Love. It's about love. This week, the entire Republican Party has formally adopted an agenda for America's renewal, and you saw that agenda, and it's very short compared to the long, boring, meaningless agendas of the past, including the Democrats. They write these things that are hundreds of pages long, and they never read them after they're done. In their case, fortunately, they don't read them because they're pretty bad. It's a series of bold promises that we will swiftly implement when you give us a Republican House. And Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. We have our great Speaker of the House with us tonight. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Thank you. A Republican Senate. We have many senators here. And send me back to our beautiful White House just a few short months from now. We're talking about just months. It can't come fast enough. We have to get it done. First, we must get economic relief to our citizens. Starting on day one, we will drive down prices and make America affordable again. We have to make it affordable. It's not affordable. People can't live like this. Under this administration, our current administration, groceries are up 57%, gasoline is up 60% and 70%, mortgage rates have quadrupled. And the fact is, it doesn't matter what they are because you can't get the money anyway. You can't buy houses. Young people can't get any financing to buy a house. The total household costs have increased an average of $28,000 per family under this administration. Republicans have a plan to bring down prices and bring them down very, very rapidly. By slashing energy costs, we will in turn reduce the cost of transportation, manufacturing, and all household goods. So much starts with energy. And remember, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country by far. We are a nation that has the opportunity to make an absolute fortune with its energy. We have it, and China doesn't. Under the Trump administration, just 3.5 years ago, we were energy independent. But soon, we will actually be better than that. We will be energy dominant and supply not only ourselves, but we will supply the rest of the world with numbers that nobody has ever seen, and we will reduce our debt, $36 trillion. We will start reducing that, and we will also reduce your taxes still further. Next, and by the way, they want to raise your taxes 4 times, think of it. And all my life I grew up watching politicians. I always loved politics, I guess. I was on the other side. I'd watch and they were always talking about, we will give you a tax cut. We will give you a tax cut. My whole life I was watching, I will give you a tax cut, right, Mr. Congressman? That's all they talked about. This is the only administration that said, we're going to raise your taxes by 4 times what you're paying now, and people are supposed to vote for them? I've never heard it. You're paying too much, we're going to reduce your taxes. Still further, we gave you the biggest one, as I said, we're going to give you more, and it's going to lead to tremendous growth. We want growth in our country. That's what's going to pay off our debt. And next, we will end the ridiculous and actually incredible waste of taxpayer dollars that is fueling the inflation crisis. They spent trillions of dollars on things having to do with the Green New Scam. It's a scam. And that's caused tremendous inflationary pressures in addition to the cost of energy. And all of the trillions of dollars that are sitting there not yet spent, we will redirect that money for important projects like roads, bridges, dams, and we will not allow it to be spent on meaningless green new scam ideas.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.